said. I am excited about the conversation, having the opportunity to work not only with my daughter, but with other young ladies. That is a pivotal and essential conversation that needs to be had, and we often avoid it.
And what's the name of the group?
The name of my nonprofit is Mahogany Angels. It is for girls 8 to 17, and it really is about self-love, self-worth, and empowering each other. But you can only do that if first you understand yourself first.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. Hello.
Hi.
Who are you?
I am Shonda Smith. I met Candy at a vendor's event, and she does have that personality that just kind of just grabs you in, and I felt comfortable instantly talking to her. I was out there promoting my book, Clarity, Beauty, and Pain, and I am actually owner of Women with Balance. It's a faith-based community, blog. It's just a whole vibe. It's a straight vibe, yes, of just empowerment, affirmations, and just allowing women to find their balance in faith and family and friends, because as women we have so much we have to deal with. So I think that if you put God at the head, the faith at the head, then everything else will balance itself out. So that's Women with Balance.
Yes! Ladies, are you excited about this conversation? Okay, listen. So the first thing that I really want to go into is I wrote a little spiel out here. Sex is about our bodies, would you agree?
Yes.
Growing up, our families. It's about love, care, curiosity, our feelings, our desires. Definitely about health conscious things, and about responsibility. Yes, you would agree?
Yes.
Okay. So with that, let me tell you a little story. So, how old was I? Did I say 8? I think I was 8. And I had been, having these little feelings about boys. I always was boy crazy, right? And I would be touching on them and playing with them and all kinds of stuff and trying to kiss them. Oh, yeah, I kissed a few boys at 7 and 8. Probably 4, maybe. That's a conversation for another show. But I discovered my happy button, okay? And we all know that happy button, right? Is our clit, right? Our clitoris, as the technical term, right? So I discovered this little happy place, right? And y'all remember Cabbage Patch Dolls?
Yes.
Yes. They have hard faces, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so.
Now, how do you figure that out?
That's a gift, because I never would have been there.
I decided to ride the face of my Cabbage Patch doll every day for maybe about a couple of months, probably.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say a couple months. Till one day, my granny caught me, and she was like, "Baby, what are you doing?" And I said, and I got out real quick. And she was like, no, come here. What were you doing? And I said,
How do I explain this?
But it makes me feel good. She said, but you ain't supposed to be doing that. I said, but it feels good. And she said, don't do that no more. And that's the last conversation that we really had about it. And so I don't think she ever told my mom or dad. But it left me like, why shouldn't I do this? Why? And I was one of those kids that even though you told me not to do it, I was going to do it again and again and again until I got into more trouble. And I never got into more trouble because I got sneakier. I learned how to lock the door and then do my thing. And it's like, this feels great. But what do? As a parent, what do? My granny didn't handle that, right? No. Because all you told me was not to do it.
Right.
You didn't give me any benefits of not doing it because, to be honest, to me, there wasn't none. But
You found the pro, not the con.
I'm just saying.
Where is the lie?
Yeah.
But I don't think she was equipped to have that conversation.
Right.
Nor do I think she would have. My mom was a pastor at the time, so I don't think that conversation would have went very well, and we'll get into that later too. But I don't think that conversation would have went very well with her either. How do you tell your daughter that, hey, your daughter is right in the face of her cabbage dog? How do you say that?
Right.
And then what do you do with that at that time? So I want to kind of get into, did your parents give you the talk? Anybody can start answering this question. Did your parents, notice I said parents, give you the talk?
You mean together or apart?
It don't matter.
Because
Together.
I came up in a household where it wasn't done together. My mother took care of most of that conversation. And my conversation was more about, this is when, when you see this, that means that you've become a lady. And it's going to look like this, it's going to feel like this, and this is what you need to use.
Talking about menstruation.
And so the whole sex part of it was kind of pushed off to the side just a little bit more. Yeah, you probably going to like little boys and all that kind of stuff, but the actual, you're going to want to do more.
Right.
That wasn't going to happen too much because, as I shared with you before, when I came along, back in 71, my parents were just getting together. They were just settling their lives in. They had me, got married, and they moved here, and they had me, and they were also, starting their Christian journey as husband and wife. And they were in it. They were in it, and I think we all know, coming from church and coming from the Black church, we do not address sexual health at all.
At all.
All we do is say, don't do that.
Right.
Yep.
Don't do that.
At all.
That's nasty.
Right. Keep letting us
You're going to hell.
You're going to hell.
You want to burn.
You're going to hell. So that conversation for me wasn't as fluid, and I always had in the back of my mind, when mine come along, we're going to talk about it.
Right.
I don't want them to be uneducated. I'm going to give them as much as I can, because as children and then young adults, we go out there. I heard her say, I want to tell my daughter before somebody else tells her. There's plenty out there to grab. And so I just wanted to give them my take on it. And like you always say, keep it open.
Right.
Keep it open with them so that, they're comfortable coming to me and my husband and asking us the necessary questions.
Right.
So.
No. My mom was a single mother of 3, and my grandmother helped raise us. And so my grandmother's biggest thing was survival. So I knew how to survive. But when it came to little boys, it was just no. You don't look, you don't say anything, you speak, you go on. That little girl right there, hot in the pants, fast. And it was like, okay, well, help me understand. And it was really that, if not doing it, why? Like, what's the why behind all of this? But, my mom, once she did get out of the military, we were in church 7 days a week. 7 days a week.
You had me beat by one day.
Hello?
And so it was that idea of, things of just, it was certain rules and regulations. You didn't question them. It was just a tradition of what it was and how you were brought into it. And so with my mom, I just think a lot of it was what didn't transpire with her, and her not knowing how to transpire that with me. And because at the age of 9, I was molested. So when that conversation came, it was what happens in our house stays in our house. You sweep it under the rug, you don't. And so there created certain things in me of trusting people and who could protect me if you don't address these things now. And how do I just where boundaries are, in me. And so for me, it was when I had my daughter, I had her at 21. And so I was put before the church. I went through this whole thing, and it made me really feel a certain type of way because I was being judged, I was being criticized, and I'm looking at you all and you're counting my sins, but what about yours? And so who has had the opportunity to share these conversations with me, explain to me, yes, I was a virgin until I was 18 years old. The young man that I did have sex with, I assumed that I was going to marry him. He was the love of my life. He was my first love. I just knew this was the end all be all with this individual, and it didn't happen like that. I ended
And
up
nobody
having,
had that conversation.
nobody
though.
had that
It's a
conversation.
warning, right?
And the young man that I did have my daughter with, at that time, I was going through another struggle and I was needing a safe place. He was my safe place. I didn't have any intentions of marrying him, never thought about it, but in a situation of coming from somewhere where I thought I was safe and the father of my best friend was trying to pimp me out, I had to find another place to stay because that wasn't safe. I couldn't close my eyes there. I couldn't do it. And then here comes this man, and it's safe.
Right.
It's a safe place that I can close my eyes, I can go to sleep. And I'm not concerned about someone hovering or potentially waking up and not knowing where I am in that moment. And so with my daughter, we have conversations and I'll ask her, do you have a preference? And she'll look at me and be like, well, Mama, what you, I need to understand because I can help you and I can protect you if I know. But if you get out there and someone says something to you and I don't know, I don't even know where to begin to become defensive for you because I'm just now learning it. So it's those essential conversations that for me, it's uncomfortable at times, but I'd rather be uncomfortable with you than someone else being real comfortable with you and giving you stuff that I don't want them to give you at that moment and you're not ready for it. So yeah, for me it was, I learned through trial and error those lessons of what not to do, what to do, and things like that. And so in my trial and error with my girls, I gauge what conversations they're ready for, but you know, I am in the position that I'm prepared to when you get to that space, let's sit down and have a talk.
Right.
You know, if you feeling hot in the pants, let's help you understand why you need to put some ice. Cool out, put some ice down there.
Wait, we go get there. Hold on.
We get there.
Okay, so for me, I was actually adopted. I was adopted at 3 months old, and my parents were a lot older than me. My parents are actually both deceased. They died last year. Siblings also passed prior to that as well. So I was really growing up in a family that was way older than me. My youngest sibling is 50 something. So the one that's still here. So I was raised by great grandparents, you might as well say almost, because my parents died, they were in their 70s. So you are being brought up in a very strict, very strict. It was, a lot of people don't know, it was like a prison. I was in prison, literally. So talking about things like that was just the absolute no. My mother's exact words was, your ass better not do it, period. That was the conversation that we had. My father's conversation was a bit different. He decided to go about trying to show me what a guy would do to me. Yes. So physically.
Yeah.
So that brings me to the point of not talking to your kids, because my mother didn't talk about that conversation when my dad did that to me. I was so confused. I was confused, and the way he did it was kind of slick, like, because it was like, were you really showing me what I don't need to expect, or was that your way of touching me? And then it happened again. So of course I knew at that point it was, but there was no conversation. So I had sex for the first.
How old were you at this point?
I was, I want to say 12 or 13.
So you're old enough to know.
I was old enough to know something was wrong. So I did speak to my mother about it, and again, it was like you said, we're not talking about this. I overheard her address it with him and literally say, if you touch her again, I'll kill you. That was the conversation. That was it. There was no, I'm leaving, that was just the conversation. So it was like, she knew it to be true, but yet she stayed. You know what I mean? It was like, and that's the one part I never could get in a sense, but in another sense, I got like, you've been with this man your whole life. It's all she knew. She was with him since she was 17 years old. When they died, my parents died 3 months apart. They had been married 56 years. That's all she knew. So on one hand, I not that I gave her a pass, but I had to understand her side as a woman. Like, what do I do in this instance? Like, is this, and the reality of, is this really true? Did this really happen? Because I don't know that it really registers to her how the devastation it caused me. It was like
Exactly.
a domino effect of results that came from that.
Exactly.
Especially for me being a woman who was adopted, who already felt rejected from the beginning.
Hello.
It was just repeated rejection throughout my life and do these things, and so it just left a trail of low self-esteem, of not understanding. The first time I had sex, I was 15. He was 22 years old.
Wow.
And that first time I got pregnant. I have a 24-year-old son. The first time I had sex.
The first time.
Yeah. And the thing about it is I didn't know it then. Of course it makes sense now. It only takes one time. But back then, I didn't know that. I'm thinking, how is that even possible?
Right.
I only had sex one time.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no possible way I could get pregnant. I got a 24-year-old to show for it.
Right.
So, yeah.
So both of you kind of answered this next question, but I kind of want you to get a little bit more in depth, and I'm gonna ask you first though. So you said that your parents didn't really give you the talk. So how was sex really introduced? Different question now. Think about it. How was sex really introduced?
Sex was really introduced by what my eyes saw.
What did
that
they
could be
see?
that could be TV, that could be movies, that could be
The gates.
yeah, it could be any of that. And I think my experimentation came when I was in high school. I mean, I had my first sexual experience I think I was like a junior in high school, and it didn't happen again until after graduation.
But why?
Why? Why?
Why did it happen again? Was there a reason?
Well, yeah. It wasn't the same person. The first sexual experience was with a different guy, and I think at that time it was, I just want to get that pop, that cherry thing out the way.
Right.
Let me get that out the way. And so, and it's not to take anything away, from him. He was a good guy. But then once I graduated high school and got involved with a close friend of mine, that to me felt more like, okay, relationship, you do this, you do that, so on and so forth. So I didn't have any adverse experiences like the other two ladies did. I guess I really do, I would say, blessed in that area. I mean, have anybody touch me or anything like that. So I guess, my story is like really different. It's different because of the raising, because of how black families did back then, where it was like you just didn't talk about that.
Right.
You didn't, if they could hold it off as long as possible, they held it off, and hopefully you would get enough of it to carry you through into adulthood, and maybe you could kind of figure that out with us having to be face to face and get into the nitty gritty of sex.
So did y'all watch that video in 5th grade?
Yeah.
How did that go for you? Because I just had some 5th graders watching that video talking about how the vagina works and how the penis works, and you might have these sexual feelings. Well, in 5th grade right now, do you know? So a couple of years ago, I was teaching 4th grade, and I had kids talking about porn. Straight up porn. When my brother goes to sleep, he leaves it on. Or when my sister goes to sleep, she leaves it on. And I sit there and I watch it in 4th grade. You're 8 or 9.
Right.
You're 8 or 9 in 4th grade. So having this 5th grade video, they know way more than, this is the vagina.
They do.
This is just giving you the technicalities of it all. You know way more than that. What have you guys experienced with that? And tell me how you felt about that 5th grade video too. Or did you watch it?
I saw the video, and even for me, with our age group, I'll have to say, technology has played a major part, but it still is not as major as a lot of times people give it credit for.
Right.
Because even at my age, there were still people that were far ahead of me when we
Yes.
watched that video. And we didn't have technology at that moment, like
Right.
cell phones.
Yeah.
And if you had a computer, it was dial-up. So it took you ages to get there. And if someone called you, then it's all, and you got to start all over again. And so, it was like, it wasn't internet that gave them those interactions. Keep in mind, something that I've learned, especially in the different things that I've been through, a lot of it came from generational things. And so the younger versions were introduced to things, not so much from social media or TV. They were introduced because someone that was very close to them
in
had
their
brought it to
family.
them.
Right.
And so there's these curiosities and these things and these intentions, and they're acting on them.
Right.
And so for me, I was as sheltered as possible, but there were still things that I was exposed to because I wasn't educated properly about them.
Right.
And so for me, my friends were far ahead of me, per se. I was the little square, the little green girl. I had crushes, but I was threatened by my mama and my grandmother, so it was like, you just crush, don't touch. Don't look too long. Don't do nothing.
Don't let your mind go any
Wait a
further.
minute. So the more you said that to me, the more I was like, hey, boo.
And I even got a whooping for a young man that he wasn't even looking at me. He was looking at the girl next door. And I'm sitting here like, what in the world? And when I watched this video, of course, for me being as sheltered as I was, it was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Because I wasn't in that space. Even with my experience, there were still things that were kind of blinders on. And for me, it was, some people become very curious and some people shut down. And for me, I shut down. So I became a loner. I was very much to myself. And I really, even now, I struggle with touch. I'm learning to be affectionate, but learning how to express how I feel and how to interact with people and touching and hugging. I do this a lot, and sometimes people don't understand that. Yeah, and they don't get it because they'll think that you're detached or you're antisocial or you're really, and they're just fears that you've created and boundaries. So my personal space is a large space, unless, like, if you walk up to me and you hug me, you'll notice those that I'm really comfortable with because my hugs are different, my interactions are different. But that video was, I was like, oh, okay. And then I got my little friends, they saw my girl, how do you know this? Why? Why do you know this? And what is going on? Even with my daughter and her, she has a young lady whose mother is a lesbian. And so the little girl, she had all these things. And these are conversations when I saw this with my daughter. Okay, we need to have a conversation. Because now you're exposed to some things that if you have questions, I want to have these questions with you and different things. And the little girl will get on the phone and I'm looking at, oh, baby, why are you watching this? What is this? Oh, mama, she used my phone. Pause. Whose phone?
Right.
You keep your phone. If they don't make a call or their mom didn't give them something, you be mindful, because what now happens is that I'm having to have these conversations with you because I need to make sure you understand all of
their
this that you're
dynamic
exposing
is.
yourself to
What
in
their
this
dynamic
space, and I can't protect you from everything.
So let me ask this question, because I had it on my list to talk about, but I'm glad you brought that up. How do you have that conversation? And I'll come back to you too. But how do you have that conversation about the LGBTQ lifestyle, especially of the way we grew up? And I don't care, but the way we grew up, it was a sin. You gonna burn in hell to be this lesbian or gay or transgender or whatever the case may be. What do those conversations look like now with your kids?
Well, personally, I just think that you have to lose the hell and damnation in the conversation. To me, God is love, period. And I believe that, and a lot of Christians won't agree with this, but for my personal belief, I believe that I am not God. So at the end of the day, that is his decision to decide what he wants to do about it. His commandment to me says to love. So that's what I'm going to do. Do I want to participate in it? No, that's just not my flavor. So I talk to my kids that same way. Look, if you feel this way, don't feel like you can't come talk to me about
There you
it.
go.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna still love you regardless of whatever it is you choose to do, because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Period. So I think that's the best way for you to talk about it to your kids is just like, hey, be open. If you're feeling this way, like, let me know. I flat out asked my oldest daughter, cause girl, look, she's different. She's 21, finna be 22. She ain't thinking about a dude. She's very laser focused, but she also knows my story. So I have to remember that. So she's like, oh, but boo, I'm not trying to do what you do. I'm not trying to do that. I'm far from gay, but I'm not trying to do that.
Right.
But I asked because I was like, if you are, you can
It's
tell me.
okay, you can tell me.
Like, Mama, Lord, no, golly, can a sister just be focused? Okay, I'm just making sure. I'm just trying to know what to expect.
I have one of those.
There you go. What did it look like for you as far as talking about LGBTQ?
Well, one of my daughter's best friends is she's bisexual, or she's kind of claimed that. As for me, I have to echo her. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are in that community. It's not my flavor.
Right.
It's never been my flavor.
Right.
However, I don't have a heaven or a hell to put
Right.
anybody in. It's not my job, and I thank God it's
Thank
his
you.
job and not mine.
Right.
Because I'd mess that up. I probably have some people down there that but I've told my children exactly. Yeah, I told my children the same thing. I mean, whatever it is, man, I don't care. Just let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Don't ever be scared or ashamed to come to me. If you feel uncomfortable going to dad, we get it. You know, girls like their moms and be all up under their mom. It's cool. Just come talk to me about it. I've even asked my daughter, you know, how did it make you feel when you found out your friend was bisexual? You know, how did it make you feel? You know, do you feel uncomfortable or anything like this? She's like, no, I'm cool. You know, she comes over to the house, she spends the night. It's cool. So that's how we do that. You know, again, it's the openness of the conversation and letting them know where I stand. I am one that, you know, I don't agree. It's not my flavor.
Right.
But I'm not gonna stop you.
Right.
Because
right.
at the end of it all, we all have to individually answer for whatever we did while we were here. So
Yeah, those biblical Bible thumpers and
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
those things. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I asked my daughter that once. I knew because she went and spent the night,
Mhm.
and so I didn't know at 1st.
Mhm.
And then when I had the opportunity to meet them, and I always tell her, you know, don't judge anyone. We all have a struggle, and whatever that struggle it is different. And my grandmother always would say, and many of the elders, there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
This is not a new thing. It is not just now getting here and it's evolving. It has been here since when Jesus was here.
Caesar.
And you know, so it was like, you know, for me, I would tell people all the time, and I have a really good friend, and when they had the shooting in Miami with the Pride, and he was just kind of devastated because he's had that struggle of being out. And I love him dearly, and I had to tell him, I love you just how God made you.
Right.
I don't know what that mix was, whatever it was, it's so beautiful, and I love you and who you are and what he made you as. But I tell my daughter the same thing. You don't judge anyone because you don't know.
Right.
And I can't go there and tell you you shouldn't be this way. Even if I don't agree with the lifestyle,
Right.
you may not agree with my lifestyle.
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
could be thinking I have it made. And so I would be like, you know, because he would be like, you know, and one of the things I always heard was Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, they destroyed it. No, they didn't destroy it just because people was doing what they was doing. They destroyed it because everybody in there was outside of themselves.
Right.
That's what that was. That's why that happened. And I don't like when it's manipulated and twisted to address a specific thing and to minimize a particular group of individuals so that you can do
Because
that.
he also says all sin is the same.
Yes,
Everybody
it's the
forgets
same.
that part.
Yeah.
There you go.
They always forget that part. Every single
Well, they
thing
don't
we
want to
do.
read the whole chapter.
Just the snippet
You
that
gotta read the whole chapter.
The whole chapter.
And when you read the whole chapter,
It get a little more light.
You get a little bit more in like.
I got 2 and 3. What about 4, 5, 6, and 7?
Right.
Let's do that. Catch that. Yeah.
That's right. I think it's all about respect, you know, just like the LGBTQ community wants human respect.
Yeah.
You know, they just like we need to give that to them, they need to give that in return, because I see a lot of retaliatory things that come out of that community as well. So we all got something to work on when it comes to that. But the openness with the children, you know, making sure that they know that they're in a safe place. Making sure that they know that they can come to you if they're having these feelings, if they're confused and they don't know which way to go, they are being exposed to too much and they need it all broken down for them. That is what we need to give them as parents.
So let me ask this question. So what has those conversations looked like as far as talking directly about sex? Directly about sex. I don't mean the birds and the bees.
Oh, no.
I'm talking about like, okay, so your vagina is this, and here's your labia minora, and here's your have you had those conversations like that, or what really did those conversations look like?
We have family dynamic that caused us to have to catch the other two. And the other two was they were being exposed early. And my husband and I saw where, you know, those exposures were taking them to a place where we weren't ready for them to go yet.
And hold on, Angie, if you guys are watching, get ready for Mackenzie and Mo to come on the show in just a few moments, guys, because we're going to get a kid's perspective. Guys, 18 and 16 right now, they're my babies. Go ahead, Angie, I'm
Her
sorry.
children. But we, you know, my husband and I had to talk about some things with the girls that at the moment we weren't prepared for them. They were little, 6 and 4. So once this dynamic came up in our household, you know, they were acting out. And we had to have that conversation with them. And then mommy, you know, fathers are only going to be so comfortable with their daughters in conversation. Kind of like my dad. He wasn't too comfortable with me with some of those conversations, and that's okay. That's okay. But I did more of the teaching because I had to deal with that family dynamic, and I had to kind of split this off because everybody's different. The person who's going through, and then the other two that's witnessing, and so I just did what I could to teach them about what the other family member was going through, how they got there.
How open were you about that, though? Like,
I mean, I didn't say this is the vulva and, you know, he put the penis in there and he ejaculated in her and he, you know, and then the baby formed. I didn't do all of that, but I think they knew enough. I felt like they were intelligent enough. The information that I was giving them, they were like, okay. And then they saw the family member, you know, progress and
get worse.
And not really, you know, but go there. They went on with their pregnancy, and that's when I started seeing them act out and trying to mimic. And that's when me and my husband kind of clamped down on that and was like, no. Hold on. And so that's where the explanation of this is what happened to the family member, you know, this is what happened. And we're going to have to live through it and just get through it. And this isn't something that you play with. So that became my talking point from then on. This is wonderful. It's beautiful between a man and a woman. This is a beautiful, or whoever. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a beautiful thing when it's done correctly. and at the right time.
Yeah.
Right.
Because at that time, that family member was, it's a young family member starting out in life. We all know what we want our young people to do. We want them to get their educations and get good jobs and start their lives and see the world.
Right.
We don't want them stuck in a family situation right off the bat.
Right. And Shonda, being a teen mom, so that conversation had to be a lot different.
Yes. So for me, wasn't no scientific debate. We weren't finna be doing all that. Mine was just straight up, look, these are the things that can happen
To you.
Yes,
That's
it's
right.
pleasure on this side. I'm not going to tell you that it's not. I'm not going to pretend to you like that's not a good thing.
Right.
But it's also diseases.
Correct.
It's also pregnancy.
Correct.
It's also death,
Right.
literally. I
Correct.
was very clear with my
A
kids
slow
about
death.
that. Slow death.
Yes.
So you need to be mindful of those things. And I never sugarcoated the struggle that I went through as a teen mother with them.
Right.
My kids watch us progress from then to now, to a point where now my kids are like, Mom, we're so proud of you. I think that's the problem with families and mothers. We try to shelter. We don't want them to see that part, but that's the part they need to see. That's why I have a 21-year-old who don't want no kids, because she's seen what I went through to make sure that they were okay.
And that
She's
was-
like,
that was my
yeah, you
dynamic
did
as
it,
well.
but I ain't trying to do all of that.
Right.
You know? So
That's right.
it was just
Thank
being,
God.
being real.
Hello?
I
Yes.
thank him. I thank him every
Yes.
day for
and
that.
I
Yes.
straight told my son, it'll fall off. Keep playing. It will fall off. These are my two things to him. You keep playing. I show pictures.
Yeah.
Look, you want it to look like that? You think she gonna let you put it in looking like that? She not. So you better handle your business. Wrap it up. That was the one thing.
Keep it clean.
Second thing
Wrap it up.
was, you see how your mom and daddy like to travel and get ghosts. You ain't got no babysitter, bro. Ain't down here. I raised my kids.
I'm
Been
done.
there, done that. I'm done, bro. So if you bring one here, you gonna sit here with them.
With it.
I'm
That's
just
right.
letting you know. So you can do that if you want to.
You all right with me. You all
But,
right with me. I love it. I love it.
And they get it.
I love it.
For lack of better words, I kind of had that same. Like it was, I don't filter. Like I could give you the prim, proper
Yeah.
sugar plums and berries, and it's like you're gonna miss out. You miss the reality of what it is with all of that. And so let me just get to the point.
Yes.
What are you doing? And let me look. If there's, like you said, a time and a place. It is a beautiful thing, but it's a beautiful thing when you're with a
Ready.
husband. Because keep in mind that husband made promise.
Right.
So you have to still be mindful that in what you're doing, that you're protecting yourself. Because if you're here, there, and everywhere,
Right.
how can you manage what that person is doing because you're not stable?
That's
So
right.
you're there, they're there, and you have umpteen other people that are included in this whole process.
That's
And if
right.
something happens, then what?
Right.
You know, I'm a single mother. My baby and I have been through so many things, and I tell her all the time, I love the gift that you are, but you don't understand the sacrifice that I went through.
Yes.
There were things that I went without so that you could have,
Right.
and it was really a lot of things that I was searching for that I just did not have the appropriate education or the conversations about. So yes, if you're feeling uncomfortable with mama, I would rather you feel uncomfortable with me than uncomfortable with a man that I don't know what I'm gonna have to do.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hey guys, she needs that.
Still my baby.
Right.
When
She will
it's all
get
said and bad, you know, you're still my baby. I'm still gonna love you no matter what's wrong, what's right. You're still mama's baby. And so I want to educate you, but I want to be the one to have that conversation with you. And if it's uncomfortable for me, that's fine, because we can learn together. Even if it takes me out of my comfort zone,
Right.
I'll
Absolutely.
do what I need to do to give you this information so that I know
Absolutely.
where you're getting it from. It's with the utmost love, and the intentions are genuinely for
Right.
your betterment and not to harm you. So yeah, we have a lot of direct conversations, and she'll even tell her friends, my mama is a lot.
Oh yeah. My kids, they be like,
My mama is a lot, and she crazy.
Yes.
Like, and I'm like, well,
and mama
we
gonna
say
say
no.
as long as you know.
Right. As long as you
As
know.
long as you know. And one other thing I want to say too was one thing I specifically felt was important, especially for the girls, that I was saying to my daughters is those soul ties, because it's so many things that you don't understand that you leave behind in each of those interactions, and a piece of you that's taken. And so I wanted them to be aware, like, you know, when you give
Spiritual
that to somebody,
ties,
you can't get it back.
Right.
You can't get it back, so you need to be really mindful about what you're doing and where you're doing. I tell my kids all the time, I'm so grateful that you guys are here, but if I had a choice and I could have had these same kids with my husband that I'm married to for 14 years now, I feel like it would have been such a different situation because it was a different experience. And the other experiences were literally like, dude, why did you do that? You know, like, you don't want to come back and think like that, like literally to the point, why did you do that? And not only why did you do that, but you got a whole baby out of it, and you don't even like this Negro. You don't even like him.
Exactly.
That's crazy. You know, you have to really think about that. Stop thinking about the moment. Right now, you love them. Right now, oh, he's so... And next week, you like, why?
Why?
What was I thinking?
Ladies, last question. Once you answer this question, I kind of want you to go ahead and start moving this way so that Kinsey and Monique can come on. But what name were you told to call your lady parts? And you don't answer to these girls again. But what name were you told to call your lady parts?
Pocketbook.
Clean your pocketbook, right? Clean your pocketbook.
I never heard of that.
Pots and pans. What do you come up with these names for?
And what was yours?
Pots and pans.
Pots and pans. Okay, that.
Pots and pans.
Never heard
Wait,
of
what? So which part was the pot and which part was the pan?
I don't know. I just knew all of it was pots and pans.
Oh, what's that?
So it might have been this and that, you know.
Black people are so creative.
Right.
Yeah.
So ladies, thank you so much. Don't leave the studio, but thank you so much as we bring Mackenzie and Monique on. And I want Angie to answer this question. What was you told to call? What was you told to call? What was you told to call your lady part?
This is so long ago.
You don't remember? Because I was told privates. I was told
Your private parts. Coochie was said.
So
I don't. But see, with my girls, we had a specific. I had a specific name that I taught them, and that was Cootie Bird. Because I thought it was cute.
You didn't, she didn't like teach it to us. That's just what she called it.
That's just
and
what
we
I
was
called
just like, oh, that must be what it is.
Yeah. We don't know.
Yeah.
Cootie cat, cootie bird,
cootie.
Oh.
And then we called it was a wee wee.
Oh God.
Yeah,
the wee wee.
Yeah, wee wee.
I hate that name.
I think all little kids could say wee wee.
Right. No. So what words do you hear in the streets though? What words? Don't filter me. Don't filter me. What words do you hear in the street though? Come on, tell me.
Coochie.
Coochie. What else, Ken? What else, Ken? I know she's moving you around. I'm sorry. What else, Ken? Girl.
Bad. Okay.
What else, Ken?
I'm going
What else? What? Yes, anything. It doesn't matter. Say.
Pussy and the
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So pussy and what else?
Dick.
Dick. Pussy and dick. Mama.
That's
So
what
how do
we
you
call it.
feel about what age did you hear this at? Pussy and dick.
8 or 9.
Right. 8 or 9. How do you feel about that or not? At 8 and 9, you heard pussy and dick.
That's
Okay.
what we was calling it.
That was what you was calling it.
Yeah.
Okay, but you didn't hear this from mama and daddy, right?
No.
Right. Where did you hear it from?
Friends at school.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, give me your perspective on this 5th grade video, guys.
Okay, I remembered. Okay, we watched it in 4th grade first. We watched the video in 4th grade first that told girls about their menstrual cycle. And then in 5th grade, they showed us what the guys watch in 4th grade, and then told you
So they separated the videos.
Yeah, in 4th grade, the
Uh-huh.
girls watch menstrual cycles and the guys watch whatever they watch. You're growing. And then in 5th grade, they had us in the same room.
Yeah, I think that was
We was on different sides, but we was in the same room. And then it was like both videos put together, and then we watched it again. And then we watched it again in 7th grade.
Yeah, we watched it in 7th grade. What was this one about?
It was like you're growing even more. Like in 5th grade, it was like the kid version, but 7th grade, it was kind of like the real version. I guess you could say.
How did you feel, Mo?
Uncomfortable because like you could see like all the little elementary school couples, you know, they're looking at each other and I'm like, y'all okay? But anyways, yeah, it was just about like growth and stuff.
But we were already taught about it, so we was just like, okay. But at that time when they showed us, it was like, okay, are you going to show us the rest of the story? Because we already know. It's just not about a menstrual cycle and you're growing. It's like,
because
eventually you put it together.
they had been exposed to a life experience. There was a life experience with their family member that was unfolding before their eyes.
Right.
And it was at those ages of 6 and 4 where they just got here.
Right.
And here comes this event, this life event. It's a life event.
Definitely.
That's unfolding before their eyes, and loving that family member the way that they did and idolizing that family member the way they did. What do you want to do?
Right.
You want to be like them.
So what do y'all remember about that experience?
I remember, like, I already knew, like, pregnant, baby, you know, you get a baby. And Mom and Dad kind of put it in a 6-year-old, how you can tell a 6-year-old. And then at my daycare, one of my friends' siblings had already gone through that. So I was like, what's happening? You know, like her belly's getting big, like it's a baby, but like how are babies made?
Right.
And he was actually like, okay, let me tell you X, Y, and Z. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah.
Do you remember the words that he used? Do you remember it all? Probably not.
No.
That's 6, yeah.
It was
Because
just
she
like,
was 6,
and
man.
then I mean, and then the word sex came, and I was like, "What's sex?" And
Right.
he was, and then he like told me that, and I was like, oh, "Okay, well now it makes sense." And I was very mature at a very young age, so I just got it. I was like, "Okay, well yeah, that's how it happens." So now I know. And then
And that makes sense because the family member had a friend that was coming around, so she.
And he
being
wasn't,
smart as she
wasn't my
was,
brother.
she put it all
He
together.
was her boyfriend, and I was like, Mom and Dad would tell us stuff, and I'm just sitting there like, okay, I know the real version. I know what you're telling me, and you're trying to censor, but I actually like know the real version. And I mentally prepared myself for her to ask me questions, just in case she wasn't comfortable asking Mom or Dad, or she didn't want them to know that she knew, and I would be there so I could tell her, so she wouldn't be walking around thinking.
Right.
Or she would have
Or
been
being confused.
Yeah, confused or whatever.
So how did y'all have that talk about getting your cycle and everything, and how did that?
I remember we was in the car in front of the garage, and Mom was like, "Okay, we need to have a little talk." I was 8 because we all thought I was gonna get it early, and she was like, "Okay, so when you're becoming a woman, she's like, okay, here we go. You're gonna have a moment where you're gonna bleed. You're gonna bleed." And it's gonna be uncomfortable, but you got to do this with the pad. And when you get older, you use a tampon and this and that and the other, and it's gonna happen this way. We don't know if you're gonna have cramps, back pain, nauseous, none of that. But she just covered every possibility just in case.
Right.
And then after, and she was like, and now you can get pregnant. When you get that, you can get pregnant. And I was like, oh, wait. So you can't get pregnant until you get that. But once you get it, you can get pregnant. So
Right.
His own sister.
So how did the light bulb come on for you, Mo?
For me, it was kind of scary because then I started to like put it in place with my family member and like how she got pregnant, and it was kind of like a fear, like, oh my God, like when I get it, I'm gonna be scared, like I might get pregnant, you know, and I might end up like her.
But it didn't click yet that
Yeah.
it was the sex part that kicked. So you told me a story, and I want to go back to it. What about you in that cycle, ma'am? How did that happen?
How did my mother?
Yeah, your mother and father.
My mom, and again, she's the one that took care of the majority of those talks. I pretty much mimicked what she did with my girls. She told me, you know, this is going to come at some point. And I believe I was probably 10-ish around that age. And she just laid it out there what to expect. And if you see something weird, you know, just if you see this, come to me, you know, let me know so that I know, and then we can go the rest of the way.
Right.
So she was detailed as they would be detailed back then. We didn't talk about that like that, no. Because my dad is just not one of those dads that involved himself in that conversation.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I would say to this day, that's still not his area.
Right.
He's gonna steer clear of that area. Now with his granddaughters, they can talk to him about anything, but they also know, you know what, Papa probably is not
Right.
Not that
But how different is that with your father? Because I remember this story off air.
Okay.
But how different is that?
Now, I was 4 years prepared before I got my cycle. And when I got it, I was cramping. And so I knew it was coming. And I knew that would be my side effect.
Right.
You know, the cramps. And so he learned, and I told him, because I was like, y'all, it hurts. Like, why? We need to do something about this. Tylenol. Whatever we got to do to make it stop. And then he never acted like, ugh, I don't want to talk about that. It was always like, you have medicine.
Go to your mama.
Yeah, no, it was always, you have medicine. Do you have supplies? Do you have your ice cream in the freezer?
Right.
And then your water, whatever you need. Then he would help with that.
Right.
It's always open.
So you're comfortable as well, yes?
Yeah.
For the most part?
For me, it was a bit different because she got everything way earlier than I did. I was like the late child because they told me like I would probably get mine late because my grandma got hers later. But me, I was kind of like waiting. I was so prepared. Like I had liners, pads, tampons already in my drawer. I was ready.
Stashed everywhere.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because we definitely had this conversation off air. So you just turned 18, ma'am. Woo woo! Yes, we got a graduate in the house. Okay, so
And this is when you fast and pray.
I got a driver now.
Woo! Yeah. Okay, sorry. So listen. So do either one of you have boyfriends right now?
You want to answer this one?
She might have a crush. I just got like a couple few contestants on my left side.
Don't expose me.
You have some contestants.
Yeah.
Some contenders right now. Okay. So we were talking about this, like, so you haven't done anything yet, right?
No.
Okay. So what would it take? What would it take?
Number one.
For you to go ahead and have that encounter, ma'am.
Step line. One, he got to be cute.
Okay.
Because if he's not cute, I'm not gonna be like, ooh. I'm gonna be like,
Yo.
right. And then he can't stink. Because a lot of them do.
What do you mean? You can't stay here?
He can't stink.
Stink. You said stink. Girl, I thought you said stay. I'm like, wait.
No, stink.
Oh, okay.
Can't
I got you.
And he has to have goals. Because nowadays, nobody has goals. They just want to sit at their house, smoke weed, drink Hennessy, and
Wait, not Hennessy.
and not do anything, or Ciroc, whatever they do, just not do anything. And it's like, no, like, you got to go get your education, so I know you're going to have a job to not only just support you, but like help me out too, so we can support each other.
Right. Yeah.
You have to
Right.
have goals. And
Goals.
then we'll see from there. It's just like, if I'm feeling you and you feeling me, then I have no problem with it.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to hell because I didn't wait till marriage. I just don't see it that way.
So what does safety look like then for you?
BC.
Because and BC is telling our
pill.
viewers, the pill, birth control. That's
Yes.
what I'm talking about.
And I'm allergic to latex. I got to have latex-free condoms.
So let's talk about that for a
So
moment.
I'll be bringing my own.
So she's gonna bring her own.
No holes, no surprise holes.
Right, thank you. You give a ball on that.
No surprise. No surprise. Oops, it was the wrong size and I busted out of it. No.
But wait, so she's allergic to latex, so that means that she would have to probably have a sheepskin condom. Do we know the safeties about those things? Right. So what you know? Tell me what you know.
Because there are a couple of things you need to know about sheepskin.
What you need to know?
Yeah.
What you need to know?
They got to be the right size.
Got to be the right size, okay? So how we gonna know if it's the right size though?
I ain't got that far yet. No, we'll have one of each size. And
Okay.
we'll try it
Okay,
on.
I like that plan.
Yep.
Anything
One
else?
each size. That's,
What about cleanliness?
I have
Mama,
to
you
see
wanna
it.
take this?
I have to see it be open. I buy it,
You gotta
I watch it be
open.
open.
Okay, cool beans. So what we were talking about off air too is that the fact that so she's allergic to latex. That's how a lot of people wind up not having protected sex, because if you're allergic to latex, you make it an excuse. Oh well, I can't use nothing. I can't. No. There are still things that you can use, like sheepskin condoms. You can also get the it just lost my train of thought. What is it called? There's a cup that's not latex that you can stick inside of your uterus, and that'll help from protection as well. And there's also abstinence, but we're not talking about that right now. I'm just saying.
But I am proud of the fact that they have abstained up to this point, because there's a lot of 18 and 15-year-olds who have not. And that's putting aside of anyone that has had adverse relations. But I am proud of the fact that they got a great head on their shoulders when it comes to sexual relationships, because they want it to be special for them, and they know what they need for it to be special.
Mo, can you tell me some of the stories that you see at school right now? Tell me something.
I don't think, I don't remember if I was in high school yet as a freshman, but I remember there was a video going around of this junior and sophomore having sex under the stairwell at school, in these schools.
In the open.
But wait, who was videoing it?
Exactly.
Wow.
That school is not clean.
Out in the open, not like in a bathroom stall.
Wow.
No, that happens on the
In
regular.
the stairwell.
Yeah,
in the bathroom,
that's
it
a
happens on
regular
the regular in the
thing.
bathroom.
Bent over in the
Bent
stairwell.
over in the stairwell.
In the
Everybody could
stairwell.
Oh my
see.
goodness.
I'm just surprised they didn't get caught. Like,
Right. Because at least back in the day, we used to do it in the band room.
Exactly.
And the music.
Oh, we
Wait,
had that.
in the practice room. Yeah. Be discreet.
All of those halls have been touched at one.
Exactly. Because
Oh.
if you got common sense, you
Band
think I could
hall,
get
orchestra
caught. So let me
hall.
get somewhere where I probably won't get caught. No,
Right.
it was just like, I'm feeling it. Let's go.
In the science lab when nobody was using it. I mean, there was just all kinds of places people used to get caught. I'm just saying.
The stories are vast.
What else have you seen, Bo? What else?
People kissing in the hallway.
Okay, so those
That's-
things are normal.
There are multiple relationships
In the
with 7
cafeteria.
people in one relationship.
I think the most.
Polyamorous relationships inside.
I think, yeah.
Now that shocked me.
She couldn't wrap her head around it for like 5 minutes. She was like, wait,
I couldn't.
How many?
And it was because it was high school. There was a young man. I went to go take my car to get a car wash, and there was a young man there that they knew. He goes to their school, and that's where that came from.
Candyology, who am I speaking with?
I would love. These are my nieces on the radio right now with their
Yes, hey girl, hey, how you doing? What you got to chime in, girl? Hey there.
Oh my goodness, I'm so proud of them for having this conversation and being open about, most teenagers don't do that. And they're able to talk about this, and I'm so proud of them. I really am.
Yes. You know, we proud of them too, girl.
Thanks, Amy.
Anything else, boo?
It's time. It's Auntie P.
Well, thank you so much for calling. We appreciate you, boo.
Yes.
Have a good day. But what were you saying, Angie?
Yeah, we know him.
He's
went
in
to our
my
school,
class.
and he was in my class when I was in high school, and it's like 7 of them.
But they just casually
five.
casually let that roll out of their
And she
mouths
couldn't
that,
get it.
that he was a part of a group where the whole group
It's in a
were-
relationship.
the
together.
whole group is in a relationship.
That's crazy.
So they intertwine each other. It's like 6
And
or
I had
7
to
of
tell
them
her
in their
the
own.
thing I
And I
said-
was looking like that for about 10 minutes. I couldn't let that
yeah,
go.
the thing I said that made her get it, I was like, it's like Sister Wives,
Right.
where they all share the person.
But in high
all
school.
of them, yeah.
But it was in high school.
In high school.
And
No,
I had
at
not
first
heard
it,
that.
At first it was it was just him and like 6 other girls, and then the guys started coming in because girls wanted to bring other guys that they liked because he can't just do 6 at one time. They had to share him, and they didn't want to share, so they just mixed it all together. Now it's like 12 of them.
Wow.
I'm sitting like,
In high school.
I mean, that just makes sense.
And see, you're gonna go home and you're gonna still. So the sex in the stairwell
Right.
at the school,
It's nothing compared
it was nothing compared to this. It just rolled out of their mouths like, oh, that's what they do.
It's been 3 years that
Right.
it's been going on, so we was just like, yeah. And she was like,
whatever you said.
yeah, I was driving, and she was like, stop, wait. I was like, wait, what?
Right.
Yeah, that was
But
fun.
y'all have these open conversations. Can you tell me about the friend and the toothbrush? Because that's gonna bring me to my
Okay,
next point.
so I used to have a best friend, and we fell off. I can tell you that story later. But
Right.
we fell off, and before we fell off, she has a boyfriend. I don't like him, but she has a boyfriend. And
Always.
we learned that my friends learned that she was being sexually active with him, and we were like, all right, that's cool, just keep that over there because we're not about that life.
Right.
And she said something, she just slid in the conversation talking about, yeah, I'm gonna always be safe because my friend got a disease because she was using her electric toothbrush, to masturbate. And I was like, wait, how did I get you a disease? And she's like, yeah, she's like going in the vagina with it. And I was like, she got a new one, right? She was like, no, this is the one she was like, she said that she was like just curious, would it feel good? So she did it, and then there she go with some had to go
Right.
to Planned Parenthood, and they was like, yeah, you got.
Whatever
I
that
was
is.
like,
And so that blew my mind, but at
As
the
it's
same
blown
time-
there.
right?
And this is why she wanted you to stay.
But here's the thing, and ladies, you can, they can still hear you a little bit. You can chime in at any time. But listen, so here's the thing. I was talking to one of my very close friends, and her daughter is about your age and your age. She has 2. And so I was telling her that I would rather you come buy a vibrator from me.
Right.
If they're having these sexual things, sexual desires and feelings that they cannot control, and they're feeling like, oh, I really want to go experience this, but instead of having STDs, instead of getting pregnant, I'd rather you come buy this vibrator from me and then go explore your body. And technically, because you're not 18, you cannot purchase this, but your mama can,
right.
your daddy can,
And you know it's clean.
and we know it's clean.
Just because you
And-
don't use a penis, but you use a dirty toothbrush, you still got something. Like you might as well just have sex and have more of a chance of not catching something.
Thank you. So, I mean, how do
And
you
that's
feel
why they're
about
your
that?
children.
Right. Both of them. But how do you feel about that? I know we were talking, but how do
I'm
you
cool
feel
with
about
that. I'm in concert with that. It wasn't my thing, but this is it's all evolved. Sex is a ever evolving thing. It's a ever evolving thing. Yes, we've had dildos since the beginning of time, but they've evolved into something that really helps an individual with their sexual health, be it with a partner or without a partner.
Right.
And I would much rather they have something like that and go that route than to pick up with some dude
Right.
that they just met at the skating rink
Right.
and end up, and we know where that can end up.
Right.
You know, so
As Shonda said, pregnant at 15.
Pregnant at 15.
On the first try.
On the first try, disease, AIDS.
Right.
You're sick,
You're done.
Some people are done. Some people have been healed, but some people are done. So I don't have a problem with that, and I would want them to come to me. Just like you come to me about everything else,
Right.
you ought to be able to come to me about that. Now, once you got it in your hands, that's a private matter.
Right. I'm not about to show you how to
Right,
do it.
We're not talking about it no more.
One of my friends, yeah, one of my friends.
You're gonna have to watch YouTube.
One of my friends was like,
part.
girl, I bought this, but how it worked. I was like, girl, I'm not gonna show
No,
you that.
Miss Candy gonna send you a link. She'll send you a link. Yeah, she'll send you a
She
link.
was like, I got this vibrator, how it worked. I was like, Pornhub, go there. You're not the one to teach you that. And don't go to your mom either. That's not the, no. I actually have someone for you. Do you want her number?
Exactly. Tag me in. But Mo, how do you feel about all that? I mean, is that something that you would explore? Because we already know Ken would.
What?
Okay. But my business sounds good.
But I mean, if that's how you felt and you didn't think you could control your urges anymore.
I feel like
what?
I would be comfortable like coming to you about that and stuff. But going back to like the like having sex like and stuff, I would want to get tested with them first. I feel like if I have a partner, I have to be comfortable with them to talk about that, especially if they're sexually active, because then it's like they could have a
Where you
disease,
been?
they could have
Where you
herpes or an STD that they don't even know about. So yeah.
Oh, you're making me so proud right now. Oh my God. But of course that
You're welcome.
Right.
You're welcome.
So
Hey, but it takes a village. I'm not going to
absolutely.
take all the credit. The person that just called in, she loves these kids. She's loved them since they came in the world. They have a huge village of people that love them. And most of the village may not have spoken to them about sex and sexual health and sexual relationships, but they have poured into them in so many other ways that this part has been taken care of, and they don't even know how much they've helped Mackenzie and Monique in their growth and the success where they are right now, just by loving them
and
just
providing like the common sense where we can just plug it in.
common
we
sense,
need to.
just common sense.
we've done our job.
Thank you, family.
We've done our job,
Yeah.
definitely. But as I begin to wrap up, guys, I wanted to definitely recommend this book.
Yes.
It's one that I'm using for my workshops as well, for sex education for kids from 10 up to 21, 22. I mean, it's wonderful. It's never too late to get the sex education that you need. It's not on the Bedroom Candy line, but it's definitely something that I've read several times and used. It's called It's Perfectly Normal, Changing Bodies, Growing Up, Sex and Sexual Health, and it's by Robbie Harris and Michael Emberley. It is awesome, okay? And just a few highlights from the book. Wait until you're old enough and responsible enough to have sex. I think we've said that here over and over again. You have the right to say no. And that's something that we did not talk about, but I want to make sure that I reiterate that to everybody that's watching and is going to watch. You have the right to say no.
Guys and
Anytime.
girls.
Guys and girls, it does not matter. Comes with complicated feelings.
Yes.
Sex comes with complicated feelings.
Yes.
We talked about soul ties, and that person has 10 people on them, and then
Yes.
the next person has 20 people on them, and 30 people, and before you know it, you got 1,000 people on you because you slept with this one person.
That's right.
Okay.
It's real. It's real.
It can sex can involve oral penetration. Oral. It can involve penetration, and it can involve anus. Okay. All three of those are sex. Regardless of what you say, all three of those, yes, Ken. I know you have a story. That's what I was about to ask you. What's the story?
Okay, y'all. I just found this out like 2 weeks ago. I'm still disgusted.
God,
Let me tell you. So the ex-best friend that had the friend with the toothbrush. So her and her boyfriend got sexually active. She told me March 8th, which is my birthday, 2 years ago. So we was like, okay, keep that to yourself. But then they start going further, and then we learned that she do oral. Okay, we learned that she let him put it in her booty, and we was like, not so much okay. But if that's what you want. 2 weeks ago, I got information from a very reliable source. He bought the dildo. And he makes her use it on him.
Oh no.
R. Kelly.
No, that's called pegging.
Yeah, that's
Called
pegging.
pegging.
I just learned that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into that right now.
Yeah, that's pegging.
But that's what it's called. It's called pegging, and it's very real. What'd you say?
It's called nasty in my mind.
And that's to each his own. Right. This is a no judgment zone.
Yeah. If that's what you want.
Right. So number 4 was you can definitely get pregnant. Okay. No matter when, how. If you're not using that condom, you're not using birth control, you can definitely get
Even if
pregnant.
you are using birth control.
Right. Even if you are using it, can be off. It can.
Could be
that's
not
another
strong
show.
enough.
That's just a show, another show. You can get STIs. They used to be called STDs, but they're called STIs now. AIDS, HIV, herpes, chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, all of these different things. So we want to make sure that we're having safe sex. Okay. But that is me wrapping it up. Remember that sex is about feelings, thoughts, desires, touching, intercourse, and making babies. It's all of those things, not just one thing. So this has been your girl, Candy J, wishing you love-filled days and orgasmic nights.